So, like you said, I'm Josie. I'm a new Bitcoin Core contributor. I'm really excited to be here talking about this. And what I want to talk about is the Chaincode Lightning Protocol Development Seminar, or affectionately titled, How Can We Increase the NGU, which is the number of guys and gals who understand and are contributing to Lightning. So just by quick introduction, or more like why do I care about this and why did I want to talk about this? I'm a recent participant of both the Bitcoin Protocol Development Seminar and also the Lightning Protocol Development Seminar. And after participating in the Bitcoin one, I started to be a new contributor. So this is, for me, this is really exciting because this is kind of the way that I onboarded and why I think this program is super important. I will say I'm not affiliated with Chaincode Labs, so everything I'm saying here is my own opinion, my own views. If I say anything super terrible, there's a few Chaincode people here who will probably raise their hand and be like, that's not true. Or hopefully we don't come to that. But yeah, before talking about what Chaincode is and what the seminar is, I want to set a little bit of a backdrop as to why I think this is super important and why I'm really excited about it. I think first and foremost for me, as we look at El Salvador and a country that's just adopted Bitcoin as a currency, onboarding new users and evangelizing usage, it's really important that you have people who understand the protocol, more so on a technical level, I think. And this isn't necessarily to be like actively contributing or coding on it, but just being able to talk to people about it and talk about why it's important, talk about the trade-offs. Someone who is more technical and understands at a deeper level is going to be more effective at this, I think. And there's a ton of opportunity here for people who want to write blog posts, or maybe you're working at a company and you want to get them to start using Lightning. If you're able to explain the trade-offs and answer questions on a technical level, I think you're going to be way more successful. So that's first and foremost. Having people who can evangelize and talk about it and educating them on the technical level is super important. The more obvious one is there's just a massive need for contributors to Lightning and Bitcoin in general. It's an extremely new space. There's tons of work to be done. I mean, just being at this conference, you're going to hear a ton of great ideas of things that people are building and want to build. And the big bottleneck is going to be we just need more people to work on these things, and we need them to understand. And I also think because Bitcoin and Lightning are such complex topics, there's a lead time, there's a learning curve. And so the sooner we can get people into the pipeline of learning about the protocol, I think the better, because it's not like someone's already a software developer and then they're just going to wake up one day and be like, oh, I want to learn on Lightning, and they read some documentation and there they go. There's a lot of surface area to cover. So I think the motivation for these programs is get as many people in the pipeline as we can. I think also there's just a ton of growing usage and industry demand. So, you know, I look around and businesses here are integrating Lightning payments. Presumably they're going to want to hire someone or have one of their employees start to understand the technology. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that Starbucks and McDonald's are now hiring people to be Lightning engineers or to understand and kind of run that product. So there's a whole new job market that's opening up in El Salvador and other places. And the more that you can equip people with this knowledge to break into that industry, I think that's a really exciting opportunity. So that's kind of the backdrop, why this is super exciting. I'll introduce Chaincode Labs real quick. They're a Bitcoin research and development center. We started in 2014, based out of New York City. They're solely focused on developing and researching Bitcoin. They don't really have a for-profit model, which is pretty cool. One of the main things they do, they employ a number of full-time contributors and maintainers to the Bitcoin Core implementation. And then they also have researchers that are working on research problems in the Lightning Network and the Bitcoin space. I've been fortunate to interact with and work with a few of these folks directly, and they're like a stellar group of people. Really exciting. The other thing they do is they run the Chaincode residency and the seminars. And so the Chaincode residency was more of a bring everybody in-house and have an education track that was focused on onboarding people to be contributors. And then that kind of morphed into the seminars, which is a little bit of a different model. It's online. As far as I know, they plan to keep doing the Chaincode residency and the seminars concurrently. And The residency is really cool. There's a lot of people who are now big contributors in the space that are alumni from this program, and there's probably quite a few people that are here. So I think that speaks to how effective the program is. But the seminar specifically it's different from the residency in that it's an online model, and it's organized in 5-week cohorts of about 10 to 25 participants. And so they do one for the Bitcoin protocol and the Lightning protocol separately. They also were offering a Spanish-speaking one and an English-speaking one, which is really great. They're not teaching you how to code. You're not going to be writing code or even directly getting into the code, but it's more about what is the protocol, what's the history, what's the motivation, what's the philosophy behind some of this. So I think you are kind of expected to, if you want to go down the contributor route, to have that technical background, because they're just going to then teach you how to apply that knowledge. But I think it's also still important for people who maybe don't want to go that technical route. They can still participate in these and learn the material to do that evangelizing education piece I mentioned earlier. So how they're organized, you have about a 4 to 6 hour commitment each week as a participant and 2 weekly meetings. The first meeting is going to be one-on-one with another participant in the seminar. And you guys will, based on the reading, have a discussion question that you review, ask questions of each other, maybe throw in new resources and discussion questions. And then there's a larger group discussion of about 4 to 5 people that everyone talks about their individual questions, and it's a very collaborative learning environment. I think one of the things they mentioned in their onboarding, this is not an education seminar, it's a learning seminar, and that's a pretty key distinction where there's not someone from Chaincode walking you through the material. You're in they basically created an environment that's conducive for learning, and then you're learning from your peers. So their involvement in setting these up is organizing the cohorts, and so it's free and anybody can join, but they're still kind of selecting people to put into these cohorts, and I think that's important because since they're not driving any of this, you want to have a group of people that are motivated to be learning the material, who are going to show up every week and be active in the discussion. If you just kind of took the first 20 people that signed up, maybe 5 of the people are going to be really into it, and then the other 15 aren't, and so then that's a bad experience for the 5. So I think it is kind of important to curate the groups. And then Chaincode also does the work of pairing the people off into the groups each week, doing the pairings between the peers, and arranging guest speakers. So the guest speakers come to do like a wrap-up. So for each week, there's going to be a topic. Everyone's going to do these breakout groups of 45 people. Then they're going to get together at the end, and someone who has more expertise in that area is going to do a wrap-up discussion, which I think is good for getting a little bit deeper in the material and also answering any questions that maybe people, like in the discussion groups, if you had questions that you weren't able to answer, it's great to have that connection with the person. It's also like a really nice way to start to meet other people who are active in the space. Like I said earlier, it's clear to point out, Chaincode is not moderating or leading these discussions. It's not like they've arranged experts on Bitcoin and then you join and there's a seminar, and it's really designed around getting groups of people who are learning together to kind of own going through the material. And that's important to me because, well, first, these are 2 slides to kind of demonstrate the structure of it. So there's the topics that they're going through for Bitcoin and Lightning, and then the administrative work that I mentioned that Chaincode's doing, pairing people into groups. So organizing a group of people, assigning each participant a discussion question based on the reading, and then assigning also peers from Group A and Group B to meet outside of and prep before. They also have this concept of a deputy, which is one of the people in the group is there to help facilitate discussion. So they're not leading the discussion, but they're making sure that people are being respectful to the other participants, that people are engaged. So if someone's kind of sitting in the back and not really participating, the deputy might try to pull them up and be like, hey, what did you think about your question? And it's more to just keep an easy flow of conversation. But the reason I kind of wanted to emphasize that the Chaincode's not moderating or leading these is anybody can take this material and run with this. And I think that's kind of one of the goals here. Chaincode has stated that they're not interested in being the only person doing this. They're not interested in being the ones that scale this. And they've done a really good job of iterating on the material and the format to get it with the minimal structure necessary, but just enough to make sure that there's like an easy environment to learn in. So anybody could go to their website, take the material and then organize a group on Slack, Signal, Telegram, whatever, get some people together and run through the material on their own. And you don't even have to be someone to organize one of these who already knows about Lightning or Bitcoin. You just have to really want to learn it, and you then find 15 to 20 people who want to learn it with you. Someone's going to have to do the administrative part of it, of kind of organizing the groups each week and pairing people. But I don't think that should be a super huge commitment, and I think that you could share that responsibility within the group. And then, if possible, try to get guest speakers. So you can reach out to people on Twitter, you can reach out to friends of friends to kind of get those people to come do those wrap-up sessions. It's not necessary if you're running these on your own, but I think it is a nice touch that really helps people engage with the material. And then as you're doing these, you can contribute back content. So if you're coming up with new discussion questions that you want to add to the question bank that Chaincode has, you can submit that. I think also too, if you're finding new study material, so you're reading the assigned reading, and then you find another great article, there's no reason you can't contribute that back to Chaincode so other people can benefit, because it's a completely open source model. So this is something like, I have a lot of friends back home, some with a development background, and some who are just interested in Bitcoin, and they've been asking me, what do I think, and where can I learn more? And so I'm going to try doing this with a group of like 10 friends and just be like, hey, let's just meet once a week. We'll all get in a Signal chat so we can share links and discuss. We'll meet on video so we have that social component. And then here's all the reading material that I expect you guys to go through. And so far, everybody seems really excited about it. And I think this is really cool because it doesn't have to be, hey, we sign up for a Chaincode seminar and we wait to get into a cohort. All the material's there, and we can start having these running concurrently. So that's the call to action, right? Like if you're in this talk and you're someone who wants to learn about Lightning and wants to transition, go sign up for a Chaincode seminar. Like, do it yesterday. If you're someone who wants to learn, organize your own. Or if maybe you're already involved as a developer and you're more familiar, try to get a group of people who you know are interested and organize one of these. You can also offer to help with an existing seminar. So for the Chaincode ones themselves, if you are active in the space and kind of have some expertise in an area, reach out to them and offer to be a guest speaker to do a wrap-up session. It's like a 30-minute commitment. Or if you don't really want to organize one of these, but you know someone who is going to organize one, be like, hey, I'll do some wrap-up sessions. That's really helpful. You can also get involved with just contributing to the material. There's work to be done on translations for the stuff, which I think is super important for El Salvador, and as we talk about scaling to other countries, having the material available where people can read it in their language is super important. There's also a lot of work in transcribing. There's a lot of content on YouTube, and transcribing that into a document is super helpful. So just speaking about my experience a little bit, I decided to get into Bitcoin development in like April, and just kind of went in cold and was like reading everything I could, reading blogs, trying to find YouTube talks. And after about like 2 weeks of this, it got to be a little bit demoralizing, because you're just kind of like pounding away at this massive mountain of material every day, not really sure if you're covering the right things, not even sure if I'm understanding the content correctly. And then there's no social component. So if I just didn't feel like doing it, I didn't have any accountability. So I saw a tweet about the Chaincode seminar, and I was like, this sounds really cool. I'd kind of heard about Chaincode already. I signed up, and it completely changed my experience, where the social aspect of the seminar is, I think, really important, because you're learning with other people, which creates a social accountability to be like, all right, I want to make sure I do all the reading this week because I'm going to meet and discuss with other people. And it also just makes it more enjoyable, because you're learning with other people. You're meeting once a week with people who are excited to talk about Bitcoin, who want to learn about Bitcoin. And I think I was interacting with and understanding the material on a much deeper level, because in asking questions out loud and getting other people's feedback, you're getting, 5 people are reading the same stuff, and they're all coming with a different background and different perspective. And then when you get to sit and talk with them about that, you're thinking of the material and interacting with the material in ways you never would have if you were just sitting on your own. And then also being able to explain it out loud to other people was also super important. So reading through it, having it in your head, then someone asking a question and you trying to verbalize it, I think it's a much better way for interacting with the content. Also, the social aspect of building that network made it much easier for me to transition from the seminar to then actually contributing. Like, I met with some of the people who did the wrap-ups, felt more comfortable reaching out on IRC. So I think it was a really good pipeline into actually being a contributor. And I feel like doing the seminar made it a little bit more sticky for me. Rather than just going out there reading all the stuff about Bitcoin and then trying to open a PR, I felt more confident actually diving in. So in summary, the best time is yesterday. I think it's going to be pretty obvious as you go to talks at this conference how much is happening and how much demand there is. Two, with the Chaincode stuff, it's all available. The seminars can be self-organized. So Chaincode doesn't have to be the bottleneck here. And I would hope that if people are excited about this, try to figure out how you can start running these yourself. The third is the social environment and support network is really important for learning. It's kind of maybe an underappreciated aspect that I think Chaincode has done a good job of honing in on something that works really well. And even if you don't want to go through a seminar, there's plenty of work. If you care about this and you think that this is an important thing in Bitcoin, reach out to Chaincode, start helping improve the material and organizing these things. This is pretty much everything you would need, I think, to get started. So there's the links to the GitHub Mastering Lightning book and Mastering Bitcoin book. I think they recommend those as prerequisites before doing the seminars, just because reading those books is going to give you a good overview of the surface area and the terminology. There's the link to the Chaincode content, the Get books, and then also the learning.chaincode kind of explains more the format of the seminars and everything. Basically, I plagiarized this entire talk from learning.chaincode. They go into a lot more detail. There's also the intro video, which I think does a really good job of explaining what are the expectations of participants in the program and also what participants can expect. And then the Chaincode Labs Twitter, which is great for updates on when the next seminar is going to be, how to sign up for them and everything. And yeah, I think I had one more slide for questions, but yeah, if anybody has any questions, I don't know if we're doing questions here right now, but I can take a few, or there's my Twitter handle as well. If anyone wants to reach out, I would love to talk about this more, point you to more resources or anything like that. I saw one question in the back. Say it again a little louder, please.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to ask, what does the process of approving a new core dev look like? Becoming a dev, right? So anybody can open a PR, right? But there is a more or less defined group of core developers. So how do you actually become one?
Yeah, I don't think that's entirely accurate that there's a defined group, right? Anybody can view the code, anybody can view the open issues, anybody can get involved, anybody can go to the IRC meetings they have every week. There is no walled garden, if you will. I think what ends up stopping people is just not knowing how to get started. This idea that there's this defined group and I'm not in it, unfortunately keeps a lot of people out. Which is, again, something I really appreciated about Chaincode seminars was actually getting to talk to people who are core devs and ask that same question. What do I need to do to be a core dev? And they were like, just open a PR, right? Find something, either, something, or not even open a PR, but review existing PRs. Like, there are people working on it and nobody's reviewing the code. So anything that we can do to kind of break down that perception that you have to somehow go through some vetting process to be a core dev, I would say find something helpful. If you do something that somebody finds helpful, you're a core contributor, right? So yeah.
Hey, oh. I have a microphone, so I get priority.
Yeah.
My question is, how many? You're making it seem that, hey, we have the material public where you can run your own seminar in your own city, and it's like whatever kind of program over the course of months, and you can do it too. Kind of call to action. My question is, how many people have taken you up, or how many people have done this where they're running like Chaincode seminars in their cities outside of like New York?
I'm not sure of an exact number, but I would say anecdotally I've talked to a few people over a couple days here. I know one person mentioned they were using this material for hackathons a lot. Not necessarily running the structured 5-week cohort program, but directing people to, hey, here's a curated list of really good material to read to understand the Bitcoin protocol and the Lightning protocol. I would say probably not as many as I would hope are actually running with the content, but that could also be because it's fairly new that Chaincode has open sourced all the material and kind of made people aware of the process. And my hope would be in giving a talk like this and letting people know that it's there, that we would see a lot more of it happening. But yeah, so in short, probably not enough. There's a question here.
Yeah. You said you went from zero to. Oh, I'll do this. You said you went from zero to whatever. What was your zero? Like, can you define that zero? Was it really like a?
Yeah, so my zero was being someone with a technical background, knowing how to code in Python, working in a data science position, and being aware of Bitcoin and knowing kind of the philosophy and the community around it, but not knowing any of the technical side of it, or knowing very little of the technical side of it. Do one more.
Besides a computer, what else would you recommend for people to have? I mean, have a resources.
Sorry, it doesn't. I don't know if your mic's on.
I think. Can you hear me? Besides a computer, like what other hardware would you recommend?
For contributing, just a computer. I mean, if you can download the repository, compile it, and run it, you're set to go. I don't think there's really any special hardware necessary for being a contributor. If you're gonna get into testing a node, you might want to have a dedicated Raspberry Pi where you download new versions and run stuff. But yeah, I don't think there's really a barrier there. Yeah. So if there are any other questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Like I said, I'd love to talk about this.